This Wawa 250 powered by Coca-Cola betting episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog's got a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5 and get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with the promo code RACE-SGPN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Hello and welcome in to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. I, of course, am Cody Zeeb, not joined today by Rod Villagomez. Flying solo on this one. Just going to be me in the chat. So, chat, going to need your help carrying me through this, getting me through another episode here. I do have a couple of outright picks from Rod, so we'll get into those when we get into the outright section of the program. Of course, I've got plenty of things. Rod's not here, so I'll talk about whatever I want. So, that's why Patrick Emmerling's on the cover of this show, because hashtag DGens only. Books are out here giving us options on the shitbag specials, as we like to call them. And so, fuck it, I'm going to ride with it. So, welcome in, everybody. Glad to see the chat beginning to populate. Of course, going to be talking about the NASCAR Xfinity Series race. A couple more times saying that. Pretty soon, we're going to have to get used to the NASCAR O'Reilly Series. But for now, the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at the Daytona International Speedway, the Wawa 250, of course. And TK checking in. Why are you starting earlier this week? Well, yesterday, not earlier. we were later. But actually, got a majority of the week off from work. So I've been working on some projects. You might be able to tell I've kind of rearranged my background here. Of course, it's a little bigger just being solo today as well. But got the Miller Lite hood hung up here in the corner. Didn't show up as good on the screen as I was hoping, but that's okay. I'm off from work, so had a chance to get this done a little bit earlier before I go get the kiddo from school. So here we are. Ash checking in across the pond. And hey, I think it's a better time for our across the pond listeners. TK, of course, down under. Ash across the pond. Ash says drivers that aren't being mentioned. So it's nice to see 365 offer Blaine Perkins versus Patrick Emmerling. It's on the card. Look, they're not going to give us this head to head and not expect us to talk about it, especially on Daytona week. Like that That, my friends, is the perfect, the chef's kiss of what I want to bet on for an Xfinity Series race at Daytona is Patrick Emmerling versus Blaine Perkins. So I will break down that head-to-head in a little bit. Let's see. I'll go back up to the top of the comments here. Ash was saying, evening, Cody. Missed yesterday, but glad to be around for the Xfinity, soon to be O'Reilly Auto Parts show. So, yeah, you're covering that. Steven checking in. Steven says, go Austin Hill. So, hey, Austin Hill, big favorite. He wins a lot of these races. And boo Sheldon Creed. So I don't think you're going to get a Hill versus Creed head-to-head, unfortunately, out there. But, yeah. And Laura says, hello, Lonesome Cody. That's me, Lonesome Cody today. Rod's out on the Army duty, so he sends his best. And, of course, we're sad that he's not here to join us live. But I do want to tell you a little bit about Sports Gambling Podcast. They're giving away a $1,000 Circa Future. NFL future, which they might be sweetening the pot on that if we get enough entries into it, and it sounds like we're well on our way to that. But that's with the phrase that pays. You can submit your phrase now, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/phrase. Of course, they did 32 NFL team previews. You got to go back and listen to them in order because there is a 32-word phrase. Sean gives out a word in each episode, except for the Lions episode. He forgot, so you have to go to social media to find that one. But put the phrase together. That's got something to do with the Cowboys. That's the hint I'll give you. But then head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/phrase, and you can get entered there. And if you win, $1,000 Circa NFL future. I've already been brainstorming. I'm allowed to, that's the great thing about this company. We're allowed to enter this stuff too, and they don't give us the answer key. So, which I was going to listen to all 32 episodes anyways, because you should too, because they're great. And yours truly was on the Patriots one, so that's kind of nice, right? But yeah, I'm glad we get to enter this stuff, and I'll have a chance to win. So I've already been brainstorming what my NFL future. Look, if you're going to do $1,000 future, you got to parlay something. Like I'm going to make it big enough that I need to go to Vegas and cash this in person myself. So yeah, definitely going to be looking at that. So Steven also saying Chase Elliott's his Cup pick. Talked about Cup Series. Rod, thankfully, was still in town yesterday, so go back and listen to that. We talked about our Cup Series stuff. So let's dive in. NASCAR released the official schedule stuff today. Jordan Bianchi, of course, as he always does, with a Bianchi bomb yesterday, kind of pre-releasing the schedules. But they are out for all three series. The NASCAR Cup Series, of course, the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, as this Xfinity Series will be soon known as, and then of course the NASCAR Craftsman Trucks. I'm just going to go over the major schedule changes. Bob Pockris tweeted these out. He always makes things easy, and so I'll just read from him. For the Cup Series, San Diego, of course, replacing the Chicago Street Course race, and then Chicagoland. It's a 1.5-mile track, very similar to Kansas, Las Vegas. Plus, it's been sitting there empty for 6 years. I think it's been since they've been there. So hopefully those harsh Midwest weathers and harsh Midwest summers that I live through all the time have done some nice work to that concrete and give us a great racing surface. That, of course, will replace Mexico City also. So those are the new tracks on the schedule. Dover, now a all-star race instead of a Cup points race. Not a huge fan of this. Sounds like that was kind of an SMI decision. Sounds like maybe they're kind of holding that spot for Nashville Fairgrounds. I'd rather have a Cup race there than the all-star race. Honestly, probably not going to be a very good race. Hopefully they'll find some ways to jazz that up. It's also going to be a daytime race, most likely, Ben Kennedy said, which will be the first one since 1991, I think, that they've run the all-star race during the daytime. So I don't know, interesting. But that, of course, gives North Wilkesboro a points race. Ben Kennedy said, I think 80 to 90% of the fans they polled wanted that to be a points race. So they'll have a points race in July. Watkins Glen has been moved from August, where it's been here recently, back to May on Mother's Day weekend. So interesting. That's a track that normally sells out well. They've had some problems with Mother's Day, like trying to get people to sell out. So I guess take mom to the racetrack, camp all weekend. That's a big camping place. We'll have to see how that one goes. Phoenix, of course, no longer the championship race. It's been moved to the first round, the first race of the semifinal round. Homestead now the championship race. And that is assuming that the playoff format remains the same, which Ben Kennedy, the way NASCAR released it, they did release it as, 3, 3, 3, and 1. But Ben Kennedy said, don't read too much into that. we did that because that's the current form. They are still considering changes for the 2026 season. So that is definitely not locked completely in. So that's your major Cup Series schedule changes for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Of course, what the Xfinity Series will be called next year. They're adding San Diego, so they'll be there as well. They're going to go to Chicagoland also. Second, Darlington is new, so they'll be going to Darlington twice. Portland is out. Mexico is out. Of course, Chicago Street Course are all out. Kansas, they're going to go there in the spring instead of the fall, so that's kind of a big change for us here in the Midwest. And then, of course, the Homestead Spring Race moves to the finale race because all three series will be going there. And then over to the Craftsman Truck Series. This is, honestly, the Truck Series, the most interesting schedule release, I think, of all of them. St. Petersburg with IndyCar. Holy shit, that's going to be... I mean, I love putting them with IndyCar and having that doubleheader. You're going to probably get some crossover maybe with some guys running that. It'll be interesting to see who else kind of comes in to run that at St. Pete. But, yeah, that's very interesting, adding the Truck Series in particular to that. Maybe this is a testing of the waters. I mean, so the trucks have run with IndyCar before, and actually I think a few years ago Cup did as well on the Indy Roval or road course. But this, I think, will kind of give them an opportunity to pair up at one of their street courses. That's kind of been bandied about. Maybe see how it goes with the Truck Series, and then we can step that up to the Cup Series potentially down the road. Vegas, Spring Martinsville, and Pocono have all been replaced for the Truck Series. Darlington's going to move to the spring race instead of the fall race. Kansas from the spring to the fall, so they're going to do Xfinity in the spring instead. And then, of course, Homestead being the finale. But yeah, that's St. Pete. Oh, and Dover, sorry, got added to that. I think it was Sour D I saw in the chat. I was going to be excited about that. He goes to Dover. And then San Diego, they will, of course, be racing that as well. So, yeah, Truck Series, boy, some big changes there for sure. So, Atlanta says it's Sunday, July 12th. The Cup race will be a night race. So that's going to be a change there. Pocono will no longer have a truck race. But ARCA's going to go there, it looks like. Let's see, just kind of looking through Bob's notes here. I think that's kind of all the stuff there. So, yeah, Ben Kennedy said more than likely the All-Star race is going to be a day race. I mentioned that in the survey, I guess, was 70% and 80% of the fans. So 70% of fans and in total, 80% of the fans 18 to 34 wanted North Wilkesboro to have a points race. I think that's obviously a big target audience, so that's kind of where they went with that. And yeah, potential changes to the format as well. So that's kind of your schedule news, I guess, with that kind of breaking today, getting that out there. So make sure you check that out and go ahead and start planning your racetrack trips for next year. TK said, so instead of Penske winning the championship, this lets one of them into the Final Four. Correct. That's exactly how that's going to work. JDK said it's going to be insane. I think that was in response to the St. Pete truck deal, because that, very interested to see how that goes. That's going to be extremely interesting. I mean, we've seen the Truck Series on these road courses in a general sense. Doesn't often go too well. So putting them there, it's already a pretty tight track. Very interested to kind of see what that all entails. But it'll be interesting to see. Exciting to get that. I know JDK up in Canada there. Ben Kennedy had also mentioned we'd love to have be north of the border, and they're continuing to look at it. I don't know what the holdup is there. There's obviously some type of holdup. NASCAR initially wanted to put Canada and the Montreal track in particular on the schedule last year, back in 2024, which they were unable to do. Iowa instead got a spot, and Iowa does retain their spot as well for next year. So good to see. The one other thing too is 2 bye weeks for the Cup Series. They will have Easter weekend off, although the Trucks and Xfinity or Trucks and O'Reilly series will go back to Rockingham like they did last year for Easter. And then there will be an August weekend off as well. And I did not see, is that, I wonder if the August weekend has all 3 series off. Let me look that up quickly. So it's going to be the August, the first weekend in August. Would be like the second would be that Sunday, where there is not a Cup race, and it looks like no Xfinity or O'Reilly race there, and I'm gonna guess probably no truck race then. No truck race. So all three series will have that August weekend off. So that'll be interesting, which will be a great time for us. You know, we don't really ever stop doing shows here. So be a great time for us to kind of go through and, get updated on futures and all that. So, and we'll have some stuff too next week. Of course, the Cup Series playoffs are going to be starting next week. So we will have stuff for you next week as far as playoff bets go. We're going to fill out our playoff brackets and do all that fun stuff. All right, well, it's time, friends, to get into the Xfinity race here at Daytona this weekend. But first, I want to tell you about my friends over at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag, we're brought to you by them. MyBookie is the place to bet on every sport, including the MLB, WNBA, golf, and, of course, football futures. MyBookie accepts customers from tons of locations, easy deposit, lightning fast payouts using crypto. I mean, that's the way to go. If you head over to mybookie.com you head over to mybookie.ag. I should probably get that correct. If you want to find a bet that I like, it's any head-to-head they're giving you against one Kyle Larson. We're back. Fade Kyle Larson, Captain Shook. So head over to MyBookie. Let's see what head-to-heads they've got over there. That is mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% bet back bonus up to $500. Terms and conditions apply. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. I would also like to tell you about my friends over at Rhythm. College football is back on Rhythm. Last season, NFL. Okay, well, sorry. I'm new to this whole ad reading thing. So I'm actually going to tell you about how the NFL is back on Rhythm, but college football is back too, just for the record. NFL is back on Rhythm. Last season, Rhythm was 76-66 ATS and 22-19 on over-unders. They really shined on their player prop picks. 15 for 8 on Josh Allen passing props. That's a 23% return over investment. It's pretty solid right there. Josh Allen, great regular season quarterback. Of course, we know before he chokes in the playoffs. That's always wonderful to see. Rhythm also has MLB, WNBA, golf, and I already told you, but they have college football as well. I got a lot of college football on the mind here lately. Go to the site today. Start building your NFL models for week one. Of course, if you listen to the main show, they always name their models. So you got to give your model a name, right? You don't have a nameless model. That's pretty boring. So yeah, you can head over there, get your free trial today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right, friends. Now let's catch up with the chat. And JDK saying all he's got to say is North Wilkesboro points race is be careful what you wish for. Yeah, it'll be interesting, obviously, getting 40 cars out there, having the lap traffic stuff. In a general sense, we've seen the short tracks not produce great racing. Really, the all-star race at North Wilkesboro has kind of been not great either. So maybe Richmond this past week gives us some hope. Maybe they continue to figure out some stuff with the tires. But we'll see. TK pointing out that he agrees with the full field. So it'll be good for chaos, but maybe not for actual racing. Yeah. JDK advocating for a Vancouver street course. That would be insane. That would be pretty crazy, I think. And TK with SVG in the road courses, North Wilkesboro could be an amazing chance for an unexpected winner. The field will be so desperate to win and get in, just like they're going to be this week at Daytona. Maybe a little bit less so for the Xfinity Series because it's not their regular season cutoff. But with only 3 races left on the schedule, it's certainly go time if you are below the cut line. So Daytona this week, you got Portland road course, of course, next week. And then Worldwide Technology, the Gateway Raceway. That is the cutoff race in 2 weeks. So that's all we have left for Xfinity Series action. At this point in time, we've got 8 drivers locked in with wins. Carson Qualpole sitting pretty good at 112 to the good. Sheldon Creed 77 to the good. Taylor Gray 76 to the good. But the problem for those guys, you get a new winner this week, and all of a sudden you're no longer that far. Harrison Burton is 30 points to the good over his cousin Jeb Burton, who's 30 points to the bad. Ryan Sieg, 38 points to the bad as well. Then you're down 72, 82 points to guys like Christian Eckes, Dean Thompson, Daniel Dye. It starts to get thin past there. So, you know the drill, full-time Xfinity guys. If they can win this weekend, win and you get in. We've seen upset winners before in this race. Could we see an upset winner in this race? Definitely a possibility. Austin Dillon, of course, we've talked about him time and time again. A very, very good Xfinity Series super speedway racer. Justin Haley, as I get to the entry list here in a second, is going to be in this race as well. He was Austin Hill before Austin Hill was Austin Hill. And actually, I said his name. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess it's the Xfinity Series, so maybe that's different. But the driver of the number 7 car in the Cup Series typically was Austin Hill before Austin Hill. So he will be in this race, which will be interesting to keep an eye on also. So, yeah, 39 entries for this, 38 spots. So one driver will go home. Connor Zilisch is listed as the driver for the 88 car. And Bob, when he put this out, said he would expect the team to update any substitute or standby plans later in the week. So obviously we've all seen the clip, right? Even non-racing fans have seen the clip of him falling, broke his collarbone. SVG made the comments that he was back in 2 weeks. Coming back in 2 weeks and coming back to race Daytona in 2 weeks is interesting. Those are two different things. Man, it's going to be interesting to see what he's able to do and what the plan is. There's some possibility that they just want to, and I don't even know. I mean, so he is in the regular season championship hunt, and I guess maybe that's why you continue to try to start these races. Maybe they put him in. They 100% will have a standby driver on hand, and at this point it could be a Cup guy even to jump in that car potentially. So maybe he starts the race, and if he does start the race, and say a Kyle Larson were to get in for him, probably wouldn't suggest that at Daytona, but were to get in for him, Zilisch gets the points for whatever that driver does. So that's definitely a possibility for what they would do. Maybe just have to see how comfortable he actually is inside of the car. So that'd be a story to keep your eye on. He is going to come up in the bets in a little bit, so I guess we'll kind of go into it a little bit deeper there, but maybe a little bit of warning that he could potentially not finish this race and it could be somebody else. Now, that could work in your favor or it could work not in your favor, I suppose. So the number 5 car is going to be Cesar Baccarella, and that is going to be an entry for Alpha Prime Racing. Justin Haley is jumping in the number 11 car. I guess I'm just saying his name at this point. See, this is what happens when I have to host the show. Here I am, just saying Justin Haley's name. So we're going to roll with it. But Justin Haley, he's going to be in the 11 car, of course, for Colleague Racing. Some interesting stuff on them here lately. Maybe flirting with Dodge a little bit. They kind of came out and said so themselves. Could they potentially be a Ram Truck Series team and then Cup Series and Xfinity Series be Chevy? I think we've seen that before with Toyota, I believe, when they came in back in the day. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Eric Almirola, he's back in the number 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. We'll talk about him some in a bit. Rajah Caruth is back to make another start. He's going to be in the Jordan Anderson Racing number 32 car. So they've got Jordan Anderson's got a couple of entries as Blaine Perkins also in a Jordan Anderson car in the 31. We'll talk about him here in a second as well. Josh Bilicki, he's back in the 91 car. Natalie Decker, she returns for the first time since giving birth. I think that was, or if that was earlier this year, I think that might have been at the end of last year, but she's a new mother, and she's going to be back for the first time in the number 92 car for DGM Racing. Wawa is a big sponsor of hers. They, of course, are the main sponsor here in this race. So assuming she can make her way into the field, that'll be great to see her race as a new mother. So there is your entry list. TK saying the driver of the number 7 car driving the number 11 Xfinity car this week. Yeah, it's just a lot. Matt Jones saying FanDuel just dropped their top 10. So race over there, friends, and make sure you get the best numbers because those will not last. TK was saying he's mainly curious about Connor Zilisch. Will he do the full race or maybe he can swap himself points? I expect him to do the full race at Portland either way. Yeah, that's what I thought with Portland on the horizon next week. And I would assume SVG is not running the Portland race. we're going to be in the NASCAR playoffs at that point. Going back and forth going to be just a disaster if you want to do that. And we saw how that didn't work out for AJ Allmendinger a couple of years ago. So, I thought you skipped Daytona, right? These big, hard impacts. He wrecked earlier this year. I don't remember if it was Daytona, if it was Talladega, but isn't that where he hurt his back and missed the next race at Texas? Like, man, I don't know if this is the track you want to be coming back to. But I guess we'll see. We'll see if that changes. But at least for now, he's on the entry list. If not, I'm sure they will have a good driver in that number 88 Chevrolet as they've done before. And I'd assume that a playoff waiver would not be an issue for him. Yes, and it was Talladega on the last lap. Thanks, TK. I appreciate you. All right, well, time to get into the bets, my friends. Of course, super speedway, drafting track betting. We've said it 100 times on the show before. Take it easy. Go into these expecting to lose everything. These are the races you just bet on to have fun, because it is tough and things go wrong in these races, and that's how it goes, right? People are going to get caught up in these big wrecks. I don't think that this race is going to be as crazy as you would get in the Cup race. I think that race is going to be just extremely hectic, and we see typically that these races in Xfinity tend to be less chaos. You end up with the more chalky stuff, I guess, at the top of the board. So I'm expecting less chaos here, but you're still going to get chaos. It's still a super speedway race. So go into this and have fun. And honestly, I cannot think of a way to have more fun betting on this race than going over to Bet365 or Caesars, where they both have this option, I believe. I think I saw it on Caesars. I wrote down Caesars, so I must have. Either way, Patrick Emmerling versus Blaine Perkins. Can you think of a better, more fun way to have fun betting on NASCAR this weekend than to be watching Patrick Emmerling and Blaine Perkins throughout this race and see which one is doing better? Personally, I cannot. So, of course, this had to be included on the card. Minus 115 either side of this. So, really, you can make your argument whichever way you would like to make your argument. I'm not going to hold you to one side or the other, but I personally am going to take the Patrick Emmerling side of things. Emmerling, a guy that's been around a little bit longer than Blaine Perkins, and I am struggling to get everything pulled up here so I can give you all the correct details. But Patrick Emmerling, he has made 3 starts in the the Xfinity Series rather, and they've all been recently here. They've all been in the 07 for SS Greenlight, which is a decent car, not bad equipment at all. And they've all been good finishes. He's made it to the end in all of them. That's the big key, right? That's what you want. February last year, 17th place finish here. Then they came back in August last year, an 18th place finish. Very consistent. February earlier this year, a 10th place finish for Patrick Emmerling. He's getting into the end of these races. He's having solid days. Now, Blaine Perkins has got more starts and with more different teams. So he's kind of been around. He's in a Jordan Anderson car. Jordan Anderson cars tend to be good. I was a little sad Jordan Anderson wasn't racing himself. I love betting him on super speedways. But he's been a little more inconsistent. He's got some bad finishes in there, but the same thing. He's got some good finishes as well. 7 career starts, a 23rd, a 17th, a 37th back in February 23, 25th in 2023 August race, 14th last spring, 14th last fall, and then 34th here in the spring. So a couple of times he's gotten bit by that, and apparently it's moving since I've looked earlier. Ash is saying Emmerling is now plus 110 over on Bet365. That means people are taking the Blaine Perkins side of this. That's good. I like betting on the dog. So, yeah, we'll update that to plus 110 if you have the Bet365 then. But, yeah, look, I'm betting on this just because I want to be watching throughout the race on the ticker on the side. Where's Patrick Emmerling? Where's Blaine Perkins? Sometimes this space, and we try really hard on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here to keep this a fun space, but sometimes things get a little too serious. Some people get so far into the spreadsheets and so far into the, if we're not making money, like, we're doing this to have fun, right? And if you're not, it might be time to call the 1-800-BETS-OFF number. Go have some fun. Go bet on Patrick Emmerling versus Blaine Perkins this week, and it'll be the most fun you have By the way, I forgot to mention at the top of the show, Friday night race, by the way, Friday night under the lights for the Xfinity Series. That's going to be exciting. Since we don't have trucks, at least we get Xfinity under the lights. But go bet on Patrick Emmerling versus Blaine Perkins. It's going to be the most fun bet you place all year long. I often get local matchups, kind of get a bigger variety of matchups on race day compared to what the big books give you, which is the one perk, I guess, of that. But last week in the Truck Series, I bet Tony Breidinger versus Frankie Muniz. And it's so much fun to have those, and it cashed, by the way. But it's so much fun to have those bets to sweat out when you're literally looking that far down the board in 28th, 30th. I mean, that's where those guys will be running early in this race, assuming they can survive the wrecks. And you're going to be like, oh, fuck, big one. Did Patrick Emmerling get through? You're going to have to figure out what number car he's in. Like, all this, it's so much fun. And I can't stress enough this weekend, go have fun betting on racing at Daytona. That if you get nothing else from this show this week, that is what I want you to get. So, all right, we're going to move on to the next head-to-head, although it's hard to top that one. I almost feel like I should have saved that bet for last. I feel like I led with the best bet of the day, but that's okay. So I'm going to go to the next matchup. This one's over on ESPN Bet. A bit interesting. I don't generally like on super speedways to take a guy at minus 130 in a head-to-head. So I was a little hesitant on this, but I really, and I don't like how much I like it, but I really like Christian Eckes this week. And I think Christian Eckes is a really good super speedway driver. Kaulig equipment, I get it, right? It can be tough at times, but Christian Eckes has been really good on super speedways. So I'm going to take him over Nick Sanchez, who has had his highs. He's won a race this year, right? He's locked himself into the playoffs, all the fun stuff. And his win was on a super speedway. So you got to give him, or on a drafting track at least, because I think that win came at Atlanta, if I'm recalling correctly. So you got to give him props for that. But I'm going to take Christian Eckes in this one. One career start here at Daytona for Christian Eckes. It was a 12th place finish there. But if you go back and you look at what he did here in the Truck Series, his first two starts back in 2019, 2020, he was 22nd in both of those. Accident in the first one, running at the end of the second one, just not great finishes. But after that, he kind of figured stuff out. A third place finish in 2022 February race. Then he came back in 2023, finished in third place, and then 10th place last year in 2024. So once he got those first couple of starts out of the way, once he started feeling how things were going, really, overall, he has run pretty great. So I do like that for Mr. Christian Eckes. And then we're going to jump over to Nick Sanchez, who also is a rookie in this Xfinity Series. So not a lot of starts. And I should have probably found a better way to have all these statistics and tabs open in the correct way, but that's why I usually like it when Rod's here. But at least he should feel safe in his job. One start for Nick Sanchez in the Xfinity Series was the 35th place here in the spring. He's third in stage one, so running good earlier on, but of course got caught up in a wreck, and that's going to happen. So you go over to his stats in the Truck Series again to kind of compare to Eckes. He's been good as well. He did win here last February, and then his one other start was 2026. But to me, this is more of just I'm looking at what Nick Sanchez has done lately, and things have just, he got the win and he was having this great season, and then things kind of just fell off the rails, and I've not felt very good about him lately. And you go back, and it was Atlanta where he got that win. So drafting track, if you want to give him credit for that, of course. These days, I feel like comparing Atlanta to Daytona is getting harder to do than it was at the beginning. Almost sort of looking at that as completely different. So he wins there. He goes to Chicago, finishes 5th. He goes to Sonoma and finishes 4th. But then he just fell off the rails, right? 37th at Dover, 19th at Iowa, 33rd at Indianapolis, 24th at Watkins Glen. Like, things have just not been good for him since. And we saw this previously prior to his win, 24th at Coda, 16th at Bristol, 31st in Mexico City, 28th at Pocono, 14th at Charlotte. Or at Nashville, and he did have a third place in there mixed in there at Charlotte, but 20th at Texas, the track where he'd been good at. Like, things have not been good in an overall sense for this team this year. Like, he's had some bright spots, as we mentioned, and he got the win, so he's in the playoffs. He can use that, obviously, to kind of race carefree here, where Eckes probably needs to be a little bit more careful, but I sort of like needing to be a little bit more careful. And I'm just currently out on Nick Sanchez. I think he's a great talent. I think a guy we're going to bet on plenty in the future. But for now, I'm going to take Christian Eckes over Nick Sanchez, minus 130 on ESPN. TK checking in says 48 has been the third RCR car this year, similar to Barry being the fourth Penske car. He would take the third RCR car over the first Colleague car. But what you're not remembering, my friend, Justin Haley is in the 11 car this week for Colleague. And if you go back, Colleague used to be what RCR is now. And granted, they're on the same campus. So really, they're all out of the same shop. The RCR cars, the Colleague cars, they're all in welcome there, coming out of the same shop. But I expect both those teams to be pretty good. And I just don't trust Sanchez to get to the end of these right now. And Eckes, for the struggles he's had, have not been his fault. It's mostly been when the car has issues. So that's the one thing that kind of concerns me just a touch. But I think we're going to be okay there. So, all right, I will get into the rest of my bets here. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at the Circa. They've got the Circa Million and Circa Survivor going on. The world's greatest sportsbook, Circa Las Vegas, is hosting the world's biggest pro football contest, the Circa Million, the Circa Survivor, and the Circa Grandissimo, with over 21 million in guaranteed prizes. You can't call yourself a true DGen if you're not competing in these Circa football events. You can hang out with SGPN at Circa Contest Weekend, August 21st through 23rd. That is this weekend, my friends. Starting tomorrow, those guys are going to be out there. A bunch of the SGPN personalities are going to be out there, so make sure you go out there and join them. Live shows, open bars. You had me at open bars. Well, the live shows are pretty great too. Plus, you can get a 15% stay off your stay at the Circa with the promo code SGP15. These contests are open to everyone. You sign up in Nevada, and you can play from anywhere with the help of SGPN's official proxy. You go to footballcontest.com. Use the promo code SGP to get $50 off your proxy fees. We are also brought to you by our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. You know how much we love Underdog on this program. Underdog's Best Ball Mania is happening. It's been happening all summer long, giving away $15 million in prizes, including $2 million to first place. No waiver wire, no arguments about trades. Best Ball is the best way to play fantasy football. Underdog is also a great place to play Pick'em, where you can win up to 500 times your entry. Oh, I'm salivating already for this weekend at Daytona and just hitting worse thans on players like Kyle Larson. I don't even know what he's going to be set at yet because they don't have the racing stuff out yet, but give me the worse than on Mr. Kyle Larson. And then also they do have, of course, they've got the high limits racing over there. They've got World of Outlaws, all sorts of fun stuff over there as well. So if you do head over there and you want to toss in a high limits racing play, I like Brent Marks at the Silver Dollar Speedway Thursday evening, better than 7.5. So give me that play. And Underdog, they've got a brand new offer for brand new customers. If you play just $5, just try it. We talk about it all the time. You hear us talking about it. We're hyping it up. You want to try it for yourself, $5, and you get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with the promo code RACESGPN. I mean, it sounds like a hell of a deal to me. So go sign up today with the promo code RACESGPN at Underdog Fantasy. All right. Now, thankfully, for all of your sakes, I am done with ad reads for today, at least until tomorrow. TK says if you take the driver of the 11 over the driver of the 16. Oh, come on now. Christian Eckes is a great driver. It's a car problem. And he says that I've convinced him that the 11 is worth a look for this weekend. McDowell proved the car is good in the right hands. So so did my guy a couple of weeks ago in Carson Hocevar. So the 11 could be in good hands this week as well. And yeah, for Justin Haley, I wanted to pull up his statistics here on, where is he at? Here we go. At Daytona. Honestly, I don't have any bets on him just because where the numbers at, I didn't love it. Last couple starts weren't great, but if you go back to his full-time time here, 2019, he had a second place. 2020, he won a race. 2021, he won a race. There was also I think he won a race or two at Talladega in that time span. There was a point where he'd won like 3 in a row. So he was Austin Hill levels, honestly, from what we've seen here recently in the Xfinity Series. Obviously, we've not seen that completely translate over in the Cup Series, but he's not the only one. We haven't seen that translate for a lot of guys, including Austin Hill, who's in the Cup race this weekend. And when we've seen him run the Cup race, it just doesn't quite translate the same way, it seems. So that is that. All right, next up for me, no top 10s for Xfinity this week, at least at the point of recording. I am going a little bit early here with this show, but they've not had, remember, we kind of went through that period where they didn't have any top 10s, and that was specifically when we were racing at Talladega, Atlanta. So I'm going to guess we won't get top 10s this week for Xfinity, which really, truly is a shame, but is what it is, right? And nothing we can do about that. So going to make the best with what we have. And for me, that's going to the top 3 market, where I'm going to take Taylor Gray, my guy in the 54 car there. We're all Tay fans. I'm going to take him for a top 3 at 6-1. I think this is a great number on a driver who's been really, really good this year in a lot of ways, right? He's been extremely consistent. He's constantly battling for wins week in and week out. And he's also been pretty good here at Daytona. He's got 1 career start, of course, in the Xfinity Series. Talking about a lot of rookies today, I guess. But he ran well all day long, rather. He started in 2nd place, 10th in stage 1, 7th in stage 2, led a lap while he was up there, finished in 5th place. A good, strong run back in February. Of course, that was his first Xfinity Series start here in his rookie season. And then if you go back and you look at what he did in the Truck Series in his time here, only had the 1 start there as well, and it was a 19th place finish. So you don't have a super lot to look at when it comes to Taylor Gray, but very promising that the 1 start he has had in the Xfinity Series was a really great start here. And then if you go back and you look at Atlanta, did wreck out there in the first Atlanta race, but the second Atlanta race, he came back around, got that 5th place finish, sort of strong run. And then Talladega, he was 11th place there as well. So having a smaller sample size just at Daytona to look at, you go and you look at the other ones, good run, 1 wreck, right? That's fucking super speedway racing for you. That's how it works. And that's just how it goes. So Taylor Gray, top 3 car. I think that he could be a strong car. You know, maybe it is the Jesse Love and Austin Hill show at the end of the day. Maybe those guys take care of business. But Taylor Gray, I think, can be a top 3 contender at the end of the day. So I'm going to take him. Then I'm going to jump over into the top 5 market. And I'm going to start with Harrison Burton. Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised that he's 6-1 for a top 5 finish, because I don't know if anybody remembers, but he won here last year in the Cup Series. In the Cup Series, in this exact race weekend, he came here and won in the Cup Series last year. And I said, yes, that doesn't translate completely, but it translates more from Cup to Xfinity than Xfinity to Cup. Oh, and by the way, he's been really fucking good here, friends. 5 career starts in the Xfinity Series, going back to 2020 when he was full-time the first time around, 2nd place in his first start here. Then he came back and finished in 5th. Then he came back and finished in 3rd. Then he came back and finished in 9th. Those were 2020 and 2021 when he was full-time. So he comes back down to the Xfinity Series here in the spring. This 25 car for AM Racing. What did he do? He finished in 6th place. Harrison Burton, 5 for 5, finishing inside of the top 9. 3 of those 5 have been inside of the top 5. And he won the fucking Cup race here last year. It's crazy to me that the odds are this big on Harrison Burton. Also, I think he's probably going to play it fairly safe throughout the day and keep his car clean, because he is on that points bubble. He's currently the last car in on points. Needs to go have a strong day. So, yeah, I think that I like that. And TK backed me up on the Taylor Gray. Strong most weeks. Yes, he is. And then AM Racing, the debuff for the odds. That probably is what it is, because they're looking at the 25 car and they're like, yeah. You know, and honestly, Harrison's had a couple of tough weeks here lately. He was a cash cow for us early in the season, betting the top 10s. That kind of fell off. But he's been good, so it probably is a misprice. I think that they just kind of have overlooked how good he's been here. in the Burton family, if you go back and you look, his brother Jeb, or cousin Jeb rather, very good, more so at Talladega than Daytona, but a good plate racer. His uncle Ward was really good at the plate tracks, and even his father, I think, had some good races as well. Ward, of course, a Daytona 500 winner. So, yeah, I think you just don't overthink this one. I think it's 6-1. Again, I'd love to have top 10 options. I'd love to pay a little less for a top 10 and be more safe here. We don't get that, so you take the top 5, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Speaking of guys that have had good runs in the Cup Series here at Daytona, let me tell you about Parker Retzlaff. He made the graphic this week as well, because, yeah, he's been really good here at Daytona in the Xfinity Series, and he had that top 5 run here that kind of put him in some hot water in that 62 car, where he had a legit shot to win the Cup Series race as a part-time, like one-off Cup driver a couple of seasons ago, which you love to see. Now, the last 2 outings have not been great. He did finish 29th here in the spring, 34th last fall, so not good runs the last 2 times out. But previous to that, in his 3 starts prior to that, 4th, 7th, and 3rd place runs out of our guy Parker Retzlaff. So he's had some great runs here, got caught up in wrecks in both the last 2 races here. Of course, that can happen, right? And will happen at times, but he's been a good drafting track driver. He's been much less good at Talladega, I will say that. A lot of 30th place finishes, but did have a 7th place finish there a couple of years ago as well. I think it's 7-1. So 6-1 for Burton and 7-1 for Retzlaff on 2 guys that have done it at the Cup level and gotten these top 5s before, and have done it at this level. I think that it's just mispriced. I think you're getting really good numbers there. So give me those 2 fellas. Then I'm going to take a couple of long shots over in the next box here, and I'm going to start with Jeremy Clements, a top 5 finish. We're going to get him at 10-1. Jeremy Clements has he's figured out this super speedway stuff before, including winning this race in particular to launch himself into the playoffs back in 2022, just a couple of seasons ago. Clements, an experienced, you want to talk about experience, 30 career Xfinity Series starts in this series at Daytona. He's been doing this a long ass time. As you look through his results, I'll be honest with you, right? There's a lot of 37, 30 seconds, 29s, 28s. It's not always great, 34, 36, but he's got the upside, and the upside's what we're looking at. You go back to the spring earlier this year, 9th place finish from Jeremy Clements. You go back to 2022, he won this race, of course, only led 3 laps, just at the end of the race, put himself in the right position. That was a chaotic race, lost a bunch of drivers. That's going to happen at times. At 10-1, that's what we're looking for. He's got a 9th place finish here back in 2019. He did an 8th place finish in 2014. So kind of all throughout his career, he's shown the upside of being able to get there. And that's all I'm looking at with Jeremy Clements this week for a top 5 at 10-1. And then we're going long shot D-gens only. I talked about him in a head-to-head a few minutes ago. I put him on the graphic. If you're good enough to make the graphic, you're good enough to make the top 5 bet. You got to have chaos for this to hit. This is probably not going to hit if you don't have a decent amount of chaos. But we're going to take Patrick Emmerling to finish top 5 at 28-1. Again, we're going to be watching him already, so we might as well watch him get into the top 5. But in 3 starts here, 17th, 18th, and 10th in the spring earlier this year, that wasn't an overly chaotic race. I mean, it had super speedway chaos, but you look at the top of the board, Jesse Love, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Carson Quapple, Taylor Gray, Harrison Burton. To that point, the top 6, fairly chalky, I would say. After that's where you got Jordan Anderson's, Dean Thompson's, Clements, Patrick Emmerling, like guys we're talking about here, right? Matt DiBenedetto's of the world, all kind of rounding out the rest of the top 11 there. But you can have where even if not all of the good top guys get wrecked out, these guys can sneak up and get these good finishes. They get these good runs late. You get some of these guys that have experience and know how to get it done. So Patrick Emmerling, in the lack of, we don't have any top 10s. There's no manufacturer stuff out at this point in time, at least. So going over to Emmerling, top 5 at 28-1. That's kind of my long shot D-gens only. We're going to be everybody's going to be decked out in Patrick Emmerling gear next week is what I'm thinking is going to happen. He's going to cash us head to head for us. when he finishes in the top 5, we're all going to have us a great day. So, let's see. John says, my bets seem really odd this weekend. Well, John, yeah, they are odd this weekend. I mean, so the thing this weekend is the super speedway. And that's kind of what I said at the top of the show. You just have to approach these races different. And betting on super speedways, betting on drafting tracks has been one of my favorite types of tracks to bet on. And if you go and you look, I mean, Austin Hill. Yeah, I got it right the first time. He's like minus 260 for a top 10 or something. And yes, he's done a lot and he's had a lot of good races, but also things happen like they did earlier this year and they get caught up in these wrecks and they don't always win these things. It's so hard. And I had the one minus 130 head to head, which already scares me enough to do. But, you know, looking at the chalkier guys, it's tough to go too far up. You could certainly make a case for like a Jesse Love at even money for a top 5, but there's just so many things that can go wrong in these races. Again, the approach that I take is you're going this is a much lighter weekend than a normal weekend. Like, again, we don't tell people how to do their budgets, but if you're playing tons of units every week, I would cut that down drastically. You're going to play a lot less this week. I'd bring your unit size down this week, all of those things. And you essentially just count the entire weekend as a loss and you're playing to have fun. And not only can you have fun, but you can get the return on investment. So you're kind of looking for some of the weird stuff. You're looking for the upside cases. You want guys that are good at getting to the end of the races, but it's hard to find somebody who does it every single time. Now, Harrison Burton, I just told you about, he does, but he's still not immune. He can get caught up in these wrecks. Like, it's a completely different way you have to approach betting, in my opinion, when it comes to this type of racing in the drafting track stuff. And it's a lot more difficult, but a lot more fun, I guess, is kind of the way to look at it. So it is definitely a different take and kind of approaching a different way. They've also, you know, we used to come into super speedway drafting track races 3 years ago on the show, and I'd give you 15 top 10s because you're getting great odds. Like, half these guys are going to end up finishing in there. But I mean, we gave out Cody Ware yesterday at 4-1, which is almost laughable because it's so low. There's still some value in the options that we're getting, but the books have adjusted, and so we have to adjust to them too. So it definitely is an odd week, and again, you just have to kind of take a bit of a different approach this week. So hopefully that kind of, I guess, enlightens you onto what my thinking is and how I'm attacking this, I guess, at least. So TK says Austin Hill would want to win, but would the team consider trying to push Love for the win so he can at least use playoff points? Does Austin Hill seem like the type of guy to you that's going to give a fuck? He doesn't seem like that to me. I mean, maybe that conversation's had, right? And maybe if you get an opportunity to push a Chevy teammate, even if it's not a Jesse Love that hasn't won, to the victory, they will tell him to do that. But I mean, even like, think about it. If you're out there and you have a chance to win, we saw it with Tyler Reddick a couple of years ago. We saw it with Chase Elliott when William Byron got his first career win. Chase Elliott could have beat him, pushed him to the win here. Tyler Reddick pushed Austin Dillon to the win to get him into the playoffs, even after he'd already announced he was leaving the team, going to 23-11 at that end of that season. So we've certainly seen that before. So I guess that's kind of something to keep in your mind and in the back of your head that it could happen. So, all right, we're going to head into the outright portion of this show. Rod did have to hit the road early this morning, but he was able to share some picks in the outright market for me. So he wanted me to talk about Mr. Connor Zilisch because, well, Connor Zilisch is the GOAT at this point in time. 10-1, one career start here back in the spring, finished in 27th. So, you know, that was I believe his first start in a super speedway race completely. But you go back and you look, I mean, he just ran 4th place at Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure Rod is leaning into that recent showing of doing well. 27th at Talladega in his other super speedway start. Of course, he was leading. Was that the last lap, second to last lap? He was leading the race, got shoved out of the way. That's when he hit the wall and broke his back. But, you know, without maybe getting wrecked there, he was on his way to having a solid day. So that's all we have to look at as far as the Xfinity Series on super speedways. And going back to the Truck Series, he made no starts there either. So on super speedway. So it is just these 3 starts we have to look at: the 27th at Daytona, 27th at Talladega, but leading late. I mean, he got shoved from the lead into the wall where he hurt his back there. And then the 4th place finish at Atlanta. And obviously, if you go back and you look at like what has Connor Zilisch done for me lately, let's go back to June 21st at Pocono, where he wins the race. Then they go to Atlanta and he runs 4th. Then they go to Chicago and he runs 2nd. Then they go to Sonoma and he wins. They go to Dover and he wins. 4th at Iowa, wins at Indianapolis, wins at Watkins Glen, of course, before hurting himself. Obviously, the other side of this would be how comfortable is he going to be with the broken collarbone? How's that going to affect his performance? That'd be the thing, I guess, that would concern me a little bit, but Rod's rolling with Zilisch at 10-1 over there. And then in true Rod fashion, sticking with the JRM drivers, he's going to go to Justin Allgaier as well. 14-1 for one Justin Allgaier. Justin Allgaier has been pretty good at this track. He also has a shit ton of starts here, 29 starts in particular. Always fun to go back and look at when he started his career in the Penske Dodge back in 2009 here. But 18th place in the spring race here, but before that, 7th, 8th, 1st, 3rd, 13th, 5th, 3rd. So your last 8 starts here at Daytona, he's got 6 top 10 finishes, all 8 of those inside of the top 18. He's making it to the ends of these races. You have to go back to 9 races ago, the last time he did not finish running at the end of one of these races at Daytona. So Justin Allgaier is a guy who's consistently good on these races. And when you've got a guy, and neither of us have Austin Hill at the top of the board. He's 3-1, I think, to win this race. We've talked about it before. We tried betting on it a couple weeks ago at Atlanta. It didn't work out for us, and that reminded us this is why you don't bet it. He should be the best car. He's really good at this type of racing, but it's really tough for him to get it done each and every time, and it really just opens up for other drivers. So also a 4th place run at Talladega by one Justin Allgaier just earlier this season. So those are Rod's 2 picks, his contributions to the show today. 10-1 for Connor Zilisch and 14-1 for Justin Allgaier. So now we will head over to my outright plays here. I'm going to take Eric Almirola 18-1. That's right, Sourday. You called it in the Discord. You said, I know Cody's going to be on Eric Almirola. Damn straight, of course, I'm going to be on Eric Almirola pretty much anytime I get an opportunity to be. But Eric Almirola, he's probably still a little bit pissed off about the whole Austin Hill thing a couple of weeks ago at Indianapolis. Of course, that was the last time he was out where he got wrecked in that race. But he's been really good in the races we've seen him in so far this season. He 3rd at Atlanta to open up the year, so didn't race at Daytona in that spring race, but 3rd at Atlanta for a drafting track. Goes to Phoenix and wins. Goes to Vegas and runs 2nd. Martinsville's rough. Talladega get caught up in a crash, but 6th at Nashville. 7th at Atlanta the second time around. 2nd at Dover, and then Indianapolis running well before, of course, getting wrecked, right hooked by Austin Hill, which led to his suspension. So you go back to last year, he didn't really make any super speedway starts. He did. So Indianapolis, they ran the super speedway package last year. The drafting package where he did finish 3rd was in that great battle at the end there where Riley Herbst picked up the win. But that, and he did start at Talladega as well, 19th. Not been as good at Talladega, seemingly, for Mr. Eric Almirola throughout his career. But if you go back and you look at what did he do, all those years, again, talk about veteran drivers, been around a long time. What did he do in the Cup Series? He was pretty good here in the Cup Series as well. His last start at Daytona, 3rd place finished in the August race, 2023. So you love to see that. He also won one of the dual races in 2023 back in February there. 5th place in the 2022 Daytona 500. Won a dual also in 2021. So the little bit shorter race is pretty good at getting to the end of those. But yeah, just some great runs over the year. A 4th place finish back in the 400 or the 500 rather in the Richard Petty Motorsports back in 2017. He did have a win here for Richard Petty back in 2014 in that 43 car. And even all the way back to like his first career start at Daytona. Well, I guess it was the 30th place run, but he ran 5th in the in the dual race there in the number 8 for Earnhardt Ganassi Racing. Boy, how times have changed. But Eric Almirola, been a solid super speedway guy over the years, and I think he's going to be seeking a little bit of revenge. Imagine if we get Eric Almirola and Austin Hill battling for the win. That personally would be something I would love to see for sure. So, okay, next up for me, usually kind of have more bets on this guy, but he's sort of let me down a little bit lately in the super speedway racing, and that's Ryan Sieg. He was a cash cow for us for a long time, just kind of cashing bets left and right, and you'd kind of car lift him every time. But it's weird because it feels like it's not been as good, and I think that mostly is just maybe this year because, well, he's been really good here in the past. So I'm just, and they've also adjusted. They brought the number down. He's only 20-1 outrights. We used to get him 60-1, but they've realized how good he is at these types of tracks. They don't give us that anymore. So 20-1 for Ryan Sieg to win this race at Daytona. He's been really good here, and he's actually been, well, at least the last couple of years, better in the fall race. So 19th here in the spring, but 5th place here last fall, so a strong run then. Cash the top 5 for us that day, guarantee it. 22nd here in the fall of 24, but 6th place in the in the spring of 24, rather, was the 22nd. The fall of 23, the 6th place finish. 8th place here in the spring of 23, 8th place here in the spring of 22. So over those last 7 starts here, he's got 4 top 8 finishes. That's the type of runs you're looking for. Even going farther back, 2019, he had a 4th place finish. 2016, a 3rd place finish. 2014 back in the day, a strong run with a 3rd place finish as well. Ryan Sieg is a guy who's always in the mix when we come to these super speedways. He's a guy I've been betting on for years and years and years when it comes to these. And as you can tell, 6th place, 6th place, 8th place, 8th place. He's cashed a lot of bets for us. When we've had the top 10 options, top Fords, if you get that market. Less Fords this year, I don't know. Well, with Matt DiBenedetto, with Harrison Burton kind of being the Fords, maybe we'll get that market this weekend. I'm not sure. But Ryan Sieg to win, definitely a guy that I do like. Harrison Burton, talked about him earlier, 35-1. Guys, I read off how he's finished here just a little bit ago at this track in every single career start. And let me remind, in case you didn't know, he won the Cup Series race here last year. 5 career starts, 9th place is the worst finish at Daytona. 2nd, 5th, 3rd, 9th, and 6th place. Those first 4 were all in Joe Gibbs Racing equipment, yes. But with AM Racing earlier this year, goes out, finishes in 6th place. He could definitely use a big pick-me-up, punch his playoff ticket, much like he did last year in the Cup Series when the lights were the brightest. At 30-5-1, I think you have to get in on Harrison Burton. And then one final outright from me, going down the board and looking at a longer shot driver, 45-1 for Matt DiBenedetto. That's right. We're going to bring out DiBenedetto. Not a guy we talk about very often anymore. Only a couple of starts here in the Xfinity Series since coming down from the Cup Series. But in the spring, in this Viking Motorsports number 99 car, 11th place run. Be there at the end. That's what you're looking for. Last year in the 38 car didn't go so well. He did get caught up in a wreck in this race in particular. But Matt DiBenedetto has been one of those guys that has done pretty well over the years on these tracks. He won, of course, in the Truck Series a couple of years ago. I was a little upset about that because, that should not have thrown that caution when they did. And I guess I think that was Talladega rather than Daytona. But either way, it was a cup win, or a truck win rather, on a drafting track is the word super speedway drafting, trying to figure out the right terminology. But also, if you go back to his Cup career, pretty good here in a general sense. Some bad finishes like everybody has, but August of 2020, a 12th place finish, 19th place in February 2020, 8th place in 2019, 4th place in the Daytona 500 in the Levine Family Racing number 95 car. That was 2019, a 7th place in 2018, a 9th place in 2017. So he's been strong over the years. Another guy that's got a lot of experience, been around a long time, doing this at all levels of the series. I like leaning into those veteran guys at the bigger numbers. Yes, he's not in the greatest of cars, but this is the type of track where that can equalize out and you can get a good run from them. So Yeah, that wraps up my outrights. Almirola 18-1, Ryan Sieg at 20-1, Harrison Burton at 35-1, and Matt DiBurrito at 45-1. Let's see. TK was talking about. I think he's been one of those guys that's been pushed down by others being better. Harrison Jeb has outdrove him a lot this year, along with the usual JRM, JGR guys taking up the slots. I believe that was Ryan Sieg he was talking about, where TK is getting odds is somehow the third option to win on his odds for now. So yeah, the books know he's good. Hopefully you'll get an opportunity to bet something a little better. I don't know that I like him as the third favorite, as a guy who's not yet won in the Xfinity Series, but it's coming any day now. I can feel it, guys. Oh boy, someday we will get it. So, all right, friends. Well, look at that, another solo show. We made it over the hour mark, so not a problem for me to talk a lot. That's never been really an issue in my life. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Go ahead, get out your pen and paper, and I will go over these bets with you one more time. Of course, we started out with Patrick Emmerling over Blaine Perkins. You can get that at plus 110 these days over on Bet365. Then moving over to ESPN, minus 130 for Christian Eckes over Nick Sanchez. That's one I like as well. Taylor Gray, top 3, 6-1. Then moving over to the top 5 market, give me Harrison Burton at 6-1 and Parker Retzlaff, top 5 at 7-1. The long shot top 5s were Jeremy Clements at 10-1 and Patrick Emmerling at 28-1 rather for his top 5. Rod chimed in with his outrights. Connor Zilisch at 10-1, Justin Allgaier at 14-1. And then I had 4 for you. Eric Almirola at 18-1, Ryan Sieg at 20-1, Harrison Burton at 35-1, Matt DiBenedetto at 45-1. There you have it. Those are the picks for the Wawa 250 powered by Coca-Cola at the Daytona International Speedway. Thanks again to everybody for joining me today. I will be back again with a solo show tomorrow talking about DFS. Let's see, Underdog's been kind of slow here lately getting their stuff up, so I might have to watch the YouTube for the shorts. We'll try to continue to be good about getting those up over there. Main thing you need to know, Kyle Larson the worst then. But I will be back to talk DFS tomorrow. Probably going to, I'll see if I can get some picks from Rod for that. But I might be taking more questions, at least in the live chat. So stay tuned to the YouTube. Might run a similar time tomorrow. We'll have to see how things look and when. I suppose DFS salary should be up soon. So might be a similar time tomorrow. But subscribe to the YouTube and get locked in over there. And then you'll get notified when I do go live. So there is that. All right, friends. Well, that completes the show for me today. Make sure you head over to the X and subscribe to the show at NASCAR Gambling. Subscribe, like, rate, review, all the fun stuff. Spotify, we have access to those comments now. So if you've got a comment or a question, go ahead and submit that over on the Spotify deal there. And we'll be able to respond to you over there as well. So I'd love to see some activity and some interaction over there. Join the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. And then follow Rod over on the X at RJ Villagomez. You'll find all his wonderful, great work over there. Still cranking out those DGen play of the days. And then you can follow myself at Husker_Zeeb. I got tons and tons of stuff over there. A lot of college football stuff out right now. A lot of NFL stuff. And, of course, plenty of racing stuff as well. So, yeah, that's all, folks. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the DFS show. In the meantime, let's go racing and let it ride.